Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What is up, Lock Shoppers? Wednesday, hump day edition of the program. Hustler and P Greggy with you. Hopefully Dusty and the fam are having a great time on their holidays. We've got you locked and loaded. Tomorrow, the madness begins. Don't forget to finish up those brackets, get in your picks, and take advantage. Well, if you haven't taken advantage of it for the first four already, and you'll be able to do it again, the 30% profit boost over at Coolbet. And, of course, if you haven't played a Coolbet yet, use the promo code LOCKSHOP on your first deposit for a 100% bonus up to $200. We've got a lot to get to today. Patty and I will be making our picks for the Valspar Championship at Copperhead. We'll do that in the second half of the program. We've got a lot to unpack from yesterday evening, as well as take a look at the pucks and more action tonight, as well as those final two first four games heading into the NCAA tournament. Shout out to everybody in chat. What's going on? I see Big Uke there, Matty Hyman. Of course, JBM is there. And P. Greggy is here. What's going on, my friend? How are you?
Doing great, buddy. I want to say doing great because, NCAA March Madness is here. The Madness bets went really well. Jake's parlay went well. I'm heartbroken, though, man. The Bay Hive. I am absolutely choked. Atlanta Drive took it to them. 9-3. Shellacking. Ludwig Aberg was, Oberg wasn't enough. Oberg's performance was not enough. They missed Windy C. Tough one. Tough day to be a part of the Bay Hive. It's going to be a long off season for TGL. I'll say that much. But you were right. Atlanta Drive, best team in indoor simulator golf. You're right.
You know what I said? You're not getting a fake blinged out Dirty Birds chain when Atlanta wins it next week. It was the play of the day. It did come through. That was nice for me and for everyone that was on for the community. That was if you went with the play of the day, that hopefully made up for a loss on the parlay. And it hasn't been too often this year where the Jets, the number one team in the league, have been the ones that cost us. But that was what happened last night. We crushed the two games, the two college hoops games. Got the first one in a bit of a thriller. You can maybe go through that one if you want. A crazy, crazy ending to that first game. And then you nailed it. NC State, and North Carolina, I should say, made a statement that despite all the noise around them should not be in the tournament, that's still a squad that can do some damage, and they did a ton of it last night, completely running away with that second game. But Oilers took care of business, smashing Utah. And then, listen, offensively for the Jets last night, they had a ton of chances. It was just a uncharacteristically off night defensively. That had been the bread and butter of Winnipeg all season long. They kind of they got loose last night, shall we say. Hellebuck didn't have his best game, and they weren't able to come back. So unfortunately, what was looking very promising around puck drop in Vancouver ended up blowing up on us. But the hoops went as expected last night, but that before the community started off with a bit of a thriller, Patty.
Yeah, did it ever? What I don't think you could have asked for a better start to March Madness. A full court heave, bounces off a couple of players' hands right into the breadbasket of Alabama State, and a little layup, boom, buzzer beater. That's the way to start things off. Not the second game, although I'm not going to complain about a no sweater to cash a ticket. But yeah, crazy game to start the madness. I hope that is an indication of what we can expect all tournament long. I know 2 Chainz was happy, a former Alabama State basketball player himself. I won't say what his original rapper name was. I don't want the YouTube account to get flagged. But he is a proud alum. I don't know if he was at the game last night, but big win for Alabama State, but an even bigger win from the Tar Heels. And I just saw that. I saw it coming from a mile away. And now it's got me rethinking my bracket. Like maybe this is where UNC goes on a bit of a run. I know Jake tweeted out he thinks Ole Miss takes them down in the round of 64. I think UNC is going to at least get one more win out of them. It depends how deep they can go. I just think they're going to ride this into the ground. And we know it in sports, man. It's all about the script. It's all about the storylines, and what a storyline that would be for the Tar Heels to shut all of us up by proving, in fact, yeah, you're right, they did deserve to be here.
Yeah, beware overreacting though to the first 4 games. I will say that. I see Jake got thoughts on these games tonight.
If they won and just barely squeaked by, I think I would be like, we'll see what happens. But they dominated. And that was a San Diego State team just not being in the same class. And I know it's been a down year for the ACC, probably the worst year of the ACC that we've seen in a long time. But like, they still have great recruits. They still have unbelievable players. That RJ, I forget his name, he was lighting it up on fire last night. So that's another thing when it comes to the madness, which maybe we'll get into a little bit later. Some of these teams that you want to ride, like also look to see teams if they've got 1 or 2 guys. Sure, ride it, like, having depth and having a strong bench is important. Madness, we've seen so many times 1 or 2 players can just flip the entire tournament on its head.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We'll get to that in a minute. I'm just looking at the chat. Jake, need to hear from the boys on the Scotty's Masters dinner menu. We will definitely hit that when we get into the golf.
Yes, we will.
Now, Cash is in chat, and I believe he's poking me here. Cash says, Huss, thoughts on, quote, playoff Hellebuck being back. Now, Cash, I'm not sure where you're from. But if you were from Edmonton, you, my friend, are having very selective memory. Let me just say this about last year. Anyone that looks at that Jets Colorado series last year and says that was Hellebuck being brutal is, well, either just simply did not watch any of it and is having one of the laziest takes around, or is trolling. Because the Jets saved their worst 4 games of the season for games 2 through 5 of Colorado, and it wasn't close. If you go back and look through the entire series, it wasn't like all of a sudden Hellebuck was letting in bad goals. They were just, it was a mismatch. The amount of traffic, the deflections, the open nets that the Avalanche had. Like, that was a team loss. That wasn't on Hellebuck. But again, let me remind you, because many people seemingly, because there was no fans, have decided to make as if this series did not happen. I take you back to the Jets-Oilers series where it was a sweep. 3 games in overtime. KFC, Kyle Connor winning it in triple overtime in game 4. Oiler fans in particular should remember what Connor Hellebuck can do in the playoffs. And of course, he also went to the 2018. So that narrative is bogus. The Jets, though, listen, they weren't very good last night, and he had an uncharacteristically bad night. But if you want to take one night against the Vancouver Canucks and take that over a historic body of work through 68 games, you do you, Cash. I'll still ride with our guy. And you know what? We're going to be able to talk about that tomorrow when the suddenly rebounding Oilers get the Jets, who I'm sure will be in an ornery mood. That should be a really, really fun game. Too bad Dusty's away, but we'll have some fun with that one tomorrow in the lock shop when Jake joins me, and of course we dive into the madness. So listen, we'll get to that. That season was an asterisk. Yes, exactly. See, that's what everyone says. Well, wait a sec, they're fans. Guess what? That happened.
I know.
I will admit, if I was on the other side of things and my team had been swept and there had been no fans, I would certainly have pushed that one into the far, far recesses of my memory. But anyways, listen, it's him and your boy Dry for the Heart right now. Draisaitl's still the betting favorite right now, and we'll see what happens over this last little bit. And as I say, but yeah, Jake's coming in. This is wait, it's not Thursday yet. No fighting. Hey, we'll have some fun with that. With that tomorrow. But last night,
I think I'm actually hopping in with you guys tomorrow. I think it's another 3-manner tomorrow, and then Friday.
Okay,
yeah.
That's the entire way around. We're gonna have a lot to get to tomorrow.
Oh yes, just looking. You're right. Dry -250 to win the Hart. Hellebuck +200. I mean, I would be leaning Hellebuck here just on the value alone. The one, and I don't want to get off track here too quickly, but I keep refreshing this, and I keep thinking like, is Evdog asleep at the wheel here? But Lane Hudson +200 to win the Calder Trophy seems like a really, really good bet, doesn't it? Or am I crazy here? He's got more points than Celebrini as a defenseman, and we saw last night, I don't know how long-lived this is. Montreal Canadiens are in a playoff spot right now. They hold the last wild card spot in the East.
You bring that up, and it is a great point. I think all year long, Celebrini playing on the Sharks, and I mean, listen, he has been phenomenal. I mean, for an 18-year-old to come in and be the 200-foot player that he is, he's been really impressive. But again, early on in the season, it was Michkov that was like a -400 favorite or so.
I had to take it on it. It's garbage now. It's garbage now.
if we're talking about, simply points and offensive acumen, then I think, Hudson is right up there. He has at times, and again, from the games that I've seen, especially the ones against Winnipeg, had a really tough time on the defensive side of things.
He could be a turnstile.
I'll tell you what, I mean, you saw that goal he scored last night, a pretty magical player, and he seems to be another in the line of the Quinn Hughes-esque defenseman that just can do so many things offensively that they're huge difference makers. But here's the thing. If Montreal getting into a playoff spot right now, I think puts way more attention on him. And I would say that bet this morning is better value than it's been in the last couple of weeks because of where Montreal, what a win last night, down to Ottawa in the final 10 minutes of the game. They rally back to win. And listen, we are in a situation right now. This might be a fun little prop to get Evdog to throw up. How many Canadian teams make the playoffs? The Jets are locked. The Oilers are locked. The Leafs are locked. The Sens are pretty damn close to being locked, although the loss last night will make things a little more interesting. And I mean, right now, there is the potential that the final wild card spots in the two conferences could also be Canadian teams, with Montreal right there and one of Vancouver or Calgary. It won't be 7. That would need Minnesota to basically lose out and somehow have Vancouver and Calgary get it. But we're looking at somewhere between 3, more likely 4 and 6 teams. Be interesting to see what they have on the, when they run the numbers, what that would look like. Because again, there's so much that goes into those numbers. Who's playing who, strength of schedule, all of that.
Who holds the tiebreakers and whatnot.
And as I said, wouldn't it be cool if we had 5 or 6 Canadian teams in the playoffs?
I'll tell you, the red and blue and white TV network certainly would be happy for more Canadian. Could you imagine the money that they're going to rake in ad revenue just in the first round alone? As an Ovechkin guy and as a Leaf, it pains me to say this, but Washington, Montreal, first round matchup, shades of what was it back in 2000 and whatever, where Ovechkin and that high-powered Capitals team gets absolutely goalied and gets knocked in the first round. I don't know if Montreal's got it, but Montembeault has shown flashes where he could take over games. We know how important a hot goalie is. Could you imagine? I'm sure there'd be Capitals fans that would be seeing that Montreal Habs crest on the jerseys and Boogeyman in the back of their head saying like, oh my God, please tell me this isn't happening again.
Well, we'll see. Give a knock on the big corner office of the Evdog. And And you know what I would say, just running. I mean, I think people would enjoy betting on this and really get in just in a futures is just make playoffs. Yes, no, for some of these teams. I mean, right now in the West, Minnesota, I guess, would be in the mix, but I mean, at 81 points, they would be a minus 1,000 or something like that. But Canucks, Blues, Flames, and Utah over in the West, and then Ottawa, Montreal, Rangers, Islanders, Blue Jackets, even the Detroit Red Wings, who are all of those teams are within 3 points of Montreal in that final spot. So I know there'll be some people that could crunch the numbers and their projections of the rest of the schedules. But this is something, these playoff races are really fun right now in both conferences, and that might be something we can dive into on the Lock Shop in future shows. Listen, before we get to tonight's NHL slate, which is light, only 2 games, although your Leafs are in what should be a hell of a game against the Avalanche. Patty, I'm now 2-0 on my new MLB betting system. Take the Dodgers on the run line every game. And they did it again. Man, it was cool seeing those games in Japan. And, you realize that we're right now in a golden age. Listen, Ichiro, all-time legend. You had Matsui, the porn connoisseur, who, of course, was spending his time with the New York Yankees. He was good. Who was there? There was Daisuke Matsuzaka, who came in. There's been a couple of other. Listen, our the one that got away, Kikuchi. I'll still always be a big Kikuchi guy.
Yep.
But man, the Japanese talent that's coming into the league. Ohtani, all-time great. Period. He could retire tomorrow and he'd be going to the Hall of Fame. But man, that Roki Sasaki making his first start last night, the Cubs, it was really cool to see the Japanese guys get to play at home to kick off the season. You kind of take a step back and go, holy smokes. Japan is now producing some top major league talent that for whatever reason, maybe it was there before, but more often than not, it didn't make it to the bigs, at least during their primes. That's not happening anymore.
No, and these guys are garnering big time money to come over as well. And Sasaki, I know it was only 3 innings pitched. It's early on. These are the days of guys, going out there and completing, complete games. That's a thing of the past. Never mind at the start of the year where this is crazy. The fact of the matter is these teams are going back to North America here and are going to continue some spring training. It is weird. The MLB continues to somehow just not get anything from a marketing standpoint correct. I love the Tokyo series. I think it was brilliant, especially considering, Sasaki and all the hype around him. And for me though, it's again, how do we not have more? How do we not have more behind this? How do we not have more hype around this? Why is it happening? And then they're going back to spring training. Well, this is
not new. This isn't new. And what?
I know it's been going on for a while.
For the teams to agree to go and play these games, they need to have time to come back, get reacquainted to, massive time zone differences,
of course,
travel and all that. They did that. It's funny that you bring that up. I was on the road with the Jets. I'm going to want to say 2013 or 2014, whatever the year that the Dodgers started this season with the 2-game series in Australia. And they played the 2 games. They came back to LA, and I happened to be in LA, and we had an off day in between the Ducks and the Kings games. So the Dodgers were playing the Angels at Dodger Stadium. I had the off day, so I'm like, well, I'm going to go check out. I'd never been to the ballpark. I wanted to see it. So they were 2-0 on the season, and yet playing a spring training game or an exhibition game before things. And I guess they do this. Funny aside note, I was in the upper deck of Dodger Stadium at that Angels Dodgers exhibition game when the largest earthquake in LA in 14 years happened. And you could feel, I mean, this is an older stadium. You can feel the upper deck going like this. That was a good sign to get the hell out of there and into safer ground. I will never forget that. But the thing with Japan, they needed to find a way to get these players over to Japan. And while in North America, it's whatever. Oh, they're playing 2 games. They might be screwing up your fantasy league. I think that was as big as it's going to get in Japan all year long. And I mean, they're looking at opening up international markets. So I think they know what they're doing on that. And, listen, you got to get the PA involved. You got everyone in, and this is the way they figured it out. It is a little weird, though, that your opening day is like 2 weeks earlier, a week and a half earlier on another continent.
I know.
And then you come back and see these teams get raped and get back at it.
And it's like baseball is like a part of the reason why baseball maybe isn't progressing on where it is because they're set in their ways, but also a lot of the old traditions are some of the best things about baseball. Opening day, like having opening day, teams playing in the afternoon, having that the theatrics around opening day. That's what I love. Like, that's one of my favorite days of the year is opening day. You've got games going on all day long, so it does kind of take away the shine of that. Like with Ohtani, like, could they not just do an exhibition game? Like, I feel like 45,000 fans are going to show up to that stadium, whether it's a real game or not, especially with the Dodgers, with Sasaki and Ohtani on the roster. Like, I don't know. I feel like an exhibition game is still going to draw.
Here's another idea. I mean, as more Japanese players, although the Dodgers seem to just get everyone, so maybe they just have to bring them over. But, if you had, say, 4 teams go over for part of their spring training and spend 10 days in Japan and, do like a little 4-team tournament or something like that, that's basically still exhibition. There could be some good stuff on that. I'm just looking. Is opening day is the 27th? That's next week. Am I correct in that?
I believe so. I think it is the 27th. What is that? What was the 27th?
Playing the Yankees?
A Thursday, yeah.
The Orioles, I should say.
Yes, they open up against the Orioles. I think it's the Brewers Yankees is the first game. I was looking at the schedule yesterday.
Brewers Yankees at 2, Jays Orioles 2:07. Oh, the poor Reds. The Reds always used to have that 11 a.m. game.
I know.
And they were always the first team. Now they got to wait.
I know. And that's the only reason why I remembered that is because I was expecting to see the Reds as that early game. And then when I saw Brewers Yankees as the first game at that 2:00 start, it was kind of confused. Jake in the chat, I forgot to bring this up though. The first 3 pitches from Sasaki all touched triple digits. Like, the guy is an absolute flamethrower. Like, his mechanics are insane. It's fun to hate the Dodgers because they just have the biggest bankroll. They buy all their players, but man, like, despite his potential gambling problems or the dark cloud that there was, like Ohtani and the Sasaki guy, I think they're going to be real tough to hate, and I think we're going to be seeing some really special things over these guys over the next few years. Oh yeah, and there's what's one of my favorite names all time, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Why for hockey had Zarly Zalapsky, and now baseball has Yamamoto with the YY. Just in case you're wondering, you haven't looked at this, and we'll kind of get into some baseball futures before things officially get going next week in the lock shop. Dodgers the favorite for the World Series at plus 270. The Yankees are second at 8-1. I'm not sure if that makes sense now with Garrett Cole out and losing Soto. Braves at 9-1. Phillies and Mets at 10-1. But it's essentially
Dodgers against the field right now as we get into it. Aaron Judge, the favorite for the AL MVP. Ohtani, 2-1 for NL MVP. Soto plus 550. So there's some good stuff in win totals as well. What's the Jays win total?
Oh God, 45.
Toronto Blue Jays 45.
78 and a half. 78 and a half.
78 and a half. I've taken L's on their totals for the last couple of years. I don't know whether I can go back to the well this year.
Here's what I'll tell you, which I think is going to be my first future bet of the season. Vladdy Guerrero Jr., AL MVP, 14-1. He is going to light the world on fire this year, and he is going to walk directly into Fenway Park or Yankee Stadium and go to a division rival. I can almost guarantee it. I've
heard that they're still talking. I mean, as much as they say, okay, there was a deadline a little while ago, you know what changes that? A massive bag of money. And
yeah, you're right.
Maybe they need to see a little bit of Vladdy early on, but I'm not closing the door on that. It's going to be too devastating to the franchise. And the funny thing is, every one of those deals ages terribly. And when you're talking about giving a guy like that, I mean, you're basically saying, give me half of this contract where a guy's good, and then the rest he's not an albatross. But it does seem like there's a real need for the Jays to do something that can keep the faith. You can only have so many loony dog nights to get people to the ballpark. At some point, you need to have a team that wins games.
The thing is, well, first and foremost, like I think I'm on Jay's strike this year. Like I will not. Oh, I know I'm going to watch. I'm not that stupid. I know I'm going to watch, but I will not give a penny to the Blue Jays organization. I will be giving lots of pennies because unfortunately my cell phone and internet and TV are with Rogers. But when it comes to going to games and spending my hard-earned money, I will not be spending a dime until Vladimir Guerrero or Bo Bichette have some sort of deal set up in place. If that happens, then okay, maybe I'll go to the ballpark. So Jake, you're on your own. You're on your own for Looney Dog days this year. I will not be coming until Vladimir Guerrero gets a contract for the future.
Do they have that pass, that season ticket or whatever that Jake got at the for the first 2 months of the season last year, where you could just go to every game for like $90 or something like that?
Yeah, I forget what they called it. I wouldn't be surprised. They've got to be thinking of ways to sell some tickets. Absolutely. I think it could get ugly this year. Listen,
I think there's a lot of people like you right now. Quickly, NHL tonight, there's only 2 games, but we got a beauty. The Colorado Avalanche in to take on the Leafs. Leafs flexed all over the Flames and actually looked pretty good a couple nights ago. They're a home dog tonight, plus 105. Avalanche are minus 123. And then the Kraken are in Minnesota to take on the Wild. Wild with a big win in their last outing over the LA Kings. It was the final leg we needed for the partner parlay. That was kind of tough to take. Wilder minus 167. I think I'd probably lean Wild in this game, although Seattle's coming off a nice win. They're pretty much done, though. But Avalanche Leafs, Jake, let us know in the chat how you're feeling about this one. Patty, what about you? One win over Calgary doesn't, I think, change the fact that this team had not been doing a lot lately. You show me a big-time win against Colorado, and I think I'll start feeling more confident about the Leafs kind of trending in the right direction as we get to it. This is a big test. It should be a fun game tonight.
It should be real fun. And maybe I'm looking too much into the last time these two teams played and just even the way that Toronto's offense came alive. I kind of like the over 6. And I know there's probably an argument to be made that the Leafs in Colorado are going to do a much better job of trying to dial things in and tighten things up out the back end and not allow that to turn into a track meet. Because let's not forget, Toronto held a lead late in that third period, and the game kind of just, fell out of favor. But, Matthews looked like he was looking a little bit healthier. The power play, they get a couple power play goals. The offense is now starting to come back alive for Toronto. We know Colorado can score at will. At times it's been a struggle for them to keep the puck out of the net. And, Toronto, I know they've had a lot of success when it comes to their goaltending this year. But there's a lot of offensive firepower when it comes to Colorado. And for me, I think the emphasis for a better 200-foot game for the Maple Leafs and Colorado will be there. I just think there's just too much firepower. A 4-3 game in overtime with both teams playing relatively decent defensive hockey can still cash this bet. The fact that it's at 6.5, I kind of feel a little better. If it was 6.5, rather not the full 6, I probably would be staying away. But for these two teams, 6 goals seems like far, far too less. And maybe I'm eating the cheese here. Maybe this is a fishy line. We need the fisherman Jake Bolamos to let me know if this is a fishy line or not. But I really like the over 6 here.
Yeah, well, and you just mentioned 6.5. I mean, if you want to put it at 6.5. And again, it includes OT. So a 3-3 game going to OT would cash as well. You're getting plus money at plus 105. I think I'll ride with you on that. Maybe that might be a little play of the day. We have got some big pickings for this one tonight. I saw Jake in the chat just before we get to the golf. Jake had mentioned earlier his plays for tonight in March Madness. I'm going to pop that back up here. Let's see. Where is Jake here?
I think he's on the under of St. Mary's and American, which I am as well. And I think he's on Xavier to cover the 2.5, but maybe you can double check there.
Let's see it. Here we go. March Madness for tonight. Our 2 games. Mount St. Mary's versus American. American 2.5-point favorites. That game is tipping off at 5:40 Central, 4:40 in Edmonton, 6:40. And then the other one is Xavier in Texas. Those, to be honest, those aren't teams that I was expecting to be in a play-in game, Pat. Those are 2 of the more acknowledged. Certainly, Texas is a huge school, but Xavier has got a great college hoops history of being in this tournament. They're both 2.5-point spreads. Xavier is the favorite in the game against the Texas Longhorns.
Yeah, let's start with the first game, Mount St. Mary's and American. Again, you kind of look at the 2 games. It's 2 as middle major program. Maybe even, is there such thing as lower than mid major? Because I think that's what you could put these 2 teams in, and then a powerhouse in Texas, and Xavier, not the biggest program, but a program that had been making noise in March Madness for many, many years. When I look at St. Mary's and American, I'm leaning the same as, sorry, not leaning, I'm riding with Jake here, the under here, because American is one of the slowest paced team in the entire nation. They only average 63.5 possessions per 40 minutes. That is 349th in adjusted tempo by Ken Palm. The Mountaineers of St. Mary plays a little bit quicker than American does, but they're a very good defensive team. They, in their winning streak to get to this point, they finished on a 4-game winning streak. They've held their opponents to less than 60 points. So the under is a huge, huge play for me here. And I don't necessarily love either side. I think Texas might be a better team, but they've been just so inconsistent this year. 6-12 in the SEC, which is, when I was looking at that this morning, kind of shocked to see that they struggled this much in the SEC. But again, the SEC, one of, if not the best conference in college hoops this year. But I really look at these 2 teams. I think they can score the ball really well. So I'm going to take the under in the first game, and I'm actually going to take the over in the second game because both teams can shoot the ball real well. I also talked about picking strong players and teams that have great players. Well, that is certainly the case with Texas. Trey Johnson, named SEC Freshman of the Year, and he was actually on the second team all SEC team, which might be better than a lot of conferences' first teams because how loaded the SEC is this year. He's expected to be a lottery pick this year in the 2025 draft, and it's averaged almost 20 points per game. So I could see him really using this as a launching point to maybe jump up a little bit higher on draft boards with a big performance tonight. So if he's going to score a lot, that means Texas is going to score a lot, and that means Xavier is going to have to keep up with them. So I'll take the over in that game.
So here are your options. I mean, if we take the under in Mount St. Mary's in American, if you want to go with Patty's 2 total picks, under in the first game, over in the Xavier Texas game, that one is plus 261. Now, if you use your 30% multiplier, that basically takes it to about plus 330. And then if we take that one off and we go with Jake is taking the under and Xavier minus 2.5. That takes it to about plus 320. Just doing the math. And again, if you haven't used the boost, you can do that tonight, Patty, because you got a new one tomorrow once the first round starts of March Madness.
So, I mean, I'm looking at that there. I lean over in that second game. I just think there's a lot of talent on the floor between Xavier and Texas, but I don't hate his play with Xavier winning the game, or at least, covering that 2.5. If you were to go with the under in that American game and then just take Xavier to just win in advance, you can get that at plus 208. And then you add that 30 multiplier. I think that's actually the lane that I might go here tonight if I'm using my 30% profit boost.
Ooh, actually, okay. I'm going to do that as well. Yeah, and it takes it plus 208. And then you add it in, and I mean, it's basically on a $30 bet, essentially adding almost an extra $20 to the boost. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to meet you guys in the middle. I'll take the under. And I'll take Xavier. We'll lock it in. There's my 30% profit boost. And then we'll be back at it for tomorrow.
Ev Dog and the boys, man, you ask, they deliver. No over under just yet for how many Canadian teams in the playoffs. They're in the lab. They're trying to figure that out. But ask and you shall receive. Senators, Canucks, Canadians, Flames, all odds to make and miss the playoffs right now.
Oh my God. I know we got to get to golf, but I'm interested to see these right off the bat. Here we are to make the playoffs. Okay. So as we said, the Sens, big favorites to make it, minus 33. The no, like if you want to fade the Sens, you say they're going to tank, 11-1 on that. The Canucks, plus 125, yes. Minus 167 to the no. The Habs are plus 175 for yes. Minus 238 no. And the Calgary Flames, and this is a little interesting just because they've got the game in hand. But again, a lot of this comes down to the strength of schedule. Plus 320 for the Calgary Flames. To make it, the no is minus 500. And I'm sure we'll also get a number like this. I'm really interested to see where St. Louis comes in because of they seemingly have the easiest schedule. And then the other ones, but the Canadian teams are all booked right now at Coolbet to make the playoffs. Get over there to the NFL futures. All right. Valspar is this weekend. Before we get to the Valspar, though, how wonderful would it be, Pat, to have an invite to the Champions Dinner? Scotty Scheffler not deviating too much from his last Masters dinner. The cheeseburger sliders are back. The firecracker shrimp is back.
Mm-hmm.
But he has added Papa Chef's meatball and ravioli bites, which sound delicious. The first course, he's going to throw in the Texas-style chili, along with cheddar cheese, jalapenos, and corn chips. The main course, he goes back to the wood-fired cowboy ribeye or the blackened redfish and a pretty elite dessert, the warm chocolate chip skillet cookie, served in honor of Mr. Scotty Scheffler. Again, last year when he did it, it was the sliders and the shrimp. He had a tortilla soup And then he had the Texas ribeye, the black and red fish, and the warm chocolate chip skillet cookie. So, hey, when you win and then you win again, you can do whatever the hell you want. I don't think anyone's going to be complaining at that dinner that Scotty Scheffler didn't serve up a pretty damn good spread.
No, I'm to be honest, I'm pretty surprised Scotty's deviating from the menu at all, but he kept a lot of the same. It's similar to golfers, right? Like if you're winning a lot and you're playing well, you're not going to change too much, but maybe you switch things up on the putter. Maybe you go from a blade to a mallet putter, or you throw a 3-wood in the bag. That's kind of what he did here. The wood fire ribeye, I don't know how much difference than that is from the Texas ribeye steak. So maybe he's just changing some things around here and there to fine tune. Different. Yeah, because we know athletes in general are creatures of habit. There might not be more of a creature of habit when it comes to these golfers on tour.
Let's get to the Valspar. And again, speaking of 30% profit boosts, you got another one to use for this tourney. So there's one for March Madness. There's another one for golf. You'll get 30% profit boost a week for the tournament. So we got to figure out what we're doing there. Here are your odds. JT and Fleetwood opened up at both 14-1. Fleetwood is now 13. Those people obviously didn't watch TGL on Monday. I can tell you that. Justin Thomas, not to tip my hand, but I don't think you'll see Tommy Fleetwood. I'm still rattled about that. JT is 15-1. Sepp Straka, Mr. T20, Mr. Automatic, he's come down. I think he was at 22 or whatever. He's at 17. Xander is at 22. Wow, what a world. Sepp Straka got a shorter number than Xander Schauffele. Shane Lowry's at 24. He was at 22, so he's backed up. And we're actually getting a little bit better of a number on Corey Connors, who was 25 earlier in the week. Corey Connors and Will Zalatoris, both 27-1. Sam Burns, who's won this event a couple times, 33. Jordan Spieth, 33. Tom Kim, 33. Michael Kim, wow, he's down to 35-1. He's had some sneaky good results so far this year. And then one at 40, Aaron Smalley, and then a big group of players at 50-1. Pat, I knew you've been diving in. This is Copperhead, the toughest 3 finishing holes in golf, the big snake on the course. What do you like outright wise for the Valspar this weekend?
Well, I don't know if we can go into too much detail as I like to with a lot of the numbers, so I'll kind of try to keep it as tight as I can here. My card starts with Corey Connors, 27-1 to win. I actually got it at 25. You can get a better number now. Maybe to give a little bit of insight of why that's happened. It's not because money's going anywhere. We are expecting some wild weather on Thursday afternoon. So if you can target maybe some guys that are going to play and tee off on Thursday morning, you might get a little bit of an advantage, because from Thursday afternoon to about Friday afternoon, they're expecting some pretty wacky and wild weather. So the guys who have the PM AM tee times are actually going to get a little bit boned here. I forget who it is. I wish I wrote it down, but one of the handicappers for golf said that he actually handicaps it from about a 1.5 stroke advantage for the guys that are teeing it up in the morning and in the afternoon on Friday. So that is a big difference. But with that being said, I'm still not afraid of Corey here. He has been unbelievable since the turn of the Florida swing. First in strokes gained tee to green. And we talk about how his putter has been very, very, very dicey since entering the PGA Tour. He switched from a blade to a mallet putter for Bay Hill. And in his last 2 starts since doing that, gaining 2.8 strokes per round for the API, and then 3.0 strokes gained with his putter at the Players. So maybe the switch has turned things around. So Scotty at 27-1, I really like him there. I was humming and hawing around a guy like Burns. Burns is a guy that normally does really well at the Florida swing. I think he's had a lot of success at this golf course as well, but he has struggled as of late. So I kind of stayed away from him and went with another guy that we've seen flashes of brilliance. And I'm not a drug guy, but I imagine betting on Jordan Spieth is just about the same thing as smoking crack, because you get the highs of highs and the lows of lows. But I'm going to ride that roller coaster this year because Spieth is one here. And Spieth is the type of golfer, when he finds his spots and has successes, that's where he's playing really well. So I'm going to take Spieth at 33-1. And then one of the other ones for my outrights that I did pick because of the split tees, you can get him at 80-1, Nikolai Højgaard. He's one of the early tee times, and he's a guy that I think with his ball striking, with the ability for him to be able to keep the ball in the fairways, I think he matches really well here. So those are my 3 outright bets that I have. I really sunk my teeth, though, into more of the top 10s, the top 20s, and to miss the cut. I'm going to have a miss the cut parlay. I think that actually might already be up. I lied. I'm going to sprinkle Schauffele just at 22-1, Huss, just because when are we going to get a number like that? But my favorite bet where I'm going to use the boost, Straka. The Straka Flocka Flame finish inside the top 20. I believe right now it's at like minus 116. Use that 30% profit boost, get that to a plus number. So that's going to be my bet there. I'm also going to take Corey Connors inside the top 20 and Will Zalatoris inside the top 20 as well. I was almost close to betting him. Don't love the number at 27. If you can get up to like 30, I think I'd think about it, but I think he's a guy that if he's healthy, he could have some successes here.
Yeah, I was just going through while you were talking about the tee times, and like most of the top guys have afternoon tee times on Thursday.
Yeah.
There's one exception, and it's the group going off 10 tomorrow morning: Sepp Straka, Xander Schauffele, and Adam Scott. And to me, Adam Scott is actually sort of an interesting player.
Yeah,
because this is a beast of a course, and you have to have a very, very good short game. I mean, just simply the way things lay up, there are going to be times where it's not about getting birdies. It's about making sure you're not going back the other way with deft touch around the greens. The experience, I think, of Adam Scott is going to help out, and the fact that he's got that nice spot in the draw. Might work it out. I'm sort of with you thinking about Xander right now. 22-1 for Xander Schauffele in this field is a number that you would have thought would not be possible. And, I realize he's been injured. Feinberg said it well when he was jumping on with Pat this week. I think he probably kind of realized that he was pretty much out of it early on Saturday. But making the cut, you just want to get those shots in. And, we'll see. I mean, clean slate, a potential advantage with that spot. I think I'm going to add Xander onto the card. But I did start with Corey Connors. You kind of laid it out. He has been, much like Sepp Straka, he's been right there. He's been in the mix. He was T6, I believe, or 6th at the Players last week. The guy's dialed in right now. He's got the full game, sink a couple more putts, and he could be winning the tournament. So at 27, I do love that number. I'm going to add Schauffele at 22. It was either him or Zalatoris at 27, but I think I'll go with the Schauffele number with the value on the player, and then adding in the caveat of these tee times. I think that makes sense to take advantage. But the other guy that I've got on the card on the outrights is a guy that we've talked about before, and that is Luke Clanton. And listen, I may have got sucked in, but I watched about a 12, 13-minute video on YouTube done by the PGA Tour of him sort of behind the scenes looking to get that PGA Tour card. Now, the one thing, and Jeff and Pat brought this up, I'm not sure if he's officially turned pro yet. Because what the guys had said, that if he turns pro, he loses his automatic extension as the as an AM, I guess, into the U.S. Open and maybe the Open Championship.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the case, I think maybe he plays, and if he wins the tournament, then is officially pro, because that would get him into those other events. But in the meantime, the bottom line is this kid has arrived. He has incredible game, and we all love these kind of side stories or narratives. He's a Florida State guy.
Mm-hmm.
He has been playing these courses at top levels for years. And he's been off and sort of out of sight, out of mind the last couple, because, of course, just getting his card was not in the Players' Championship. So I think he's probably going to have been working on, like, just getting ready for this tourney as opposed to the grind of the Players. I think he might be a little fresher than a lot of guys. And, man, does this kid have the game. So 50-1. Luke Clanton's going to win at some point soon. I want to be on him. To me, home state of Florida, not too far away from FSU. I will go with him at 50-1. And then, as I mentioned, the other guy that I do like, that I think is worth a sprinkle, is Adam Scott, also at 50-1 for the tourney. As far as the 30% profit boost, if you're going with Step, I think I'm going to roll with Corey Connors. And you know what's interesting? Connors plus 130. You add the multiplier, and that basically takes it from plus 130 to almost plus 170. So again,
that's a nice number.
A great opportunity to get in on Corey. We've got him on the outrights, but let's just see him continue to do what he's been doing. That's be as consistent as anybody on tour and get into that top 120. So we'll lock that in. And it's funny, I had 2 picks. Now I've got 4, maybe 5 for the outright.
I know, me too. I have 3, now I have 5.
But locked in. I love the flyer on Luke Clanton. Adam Scott 50-1. Corey Connors now at 27. And then I think I'm gonna end up going with Xander. But again, Willie Z looked good until that 8. And
I know.
He has the game. He's nibbling around it right now. He's just about back. And when he does raise a trophy, we will say, oh, that's right. Remember Zalatoris, who was a top 5 player in the world, arguably, before he got hurt? That is where we are at. So, yeah, Valspar odds, get those in tonight. If you want to check the tee times, they're up right now. Again, a bit of an advantage for guys going off in the morning yesterday. And the market starts at Tommy Fleetwood. And if you're with Tommy Fleetwood, do not look at highlights of the TGL game on Monday night. Patty, get ready for the madness. Listen, lots going on in the combo cards. If you want to quickly plug everything that's up there before we get going tomorrow. Our favorites and our dogs from yesterday are up.
Yep. Quickly before that, partner parlay, Straka, Connors, and do we go X-Man, Clanton? What do we want for the parlay? I think Straka and Connors are no doubters for top 20. And then more.
Connors are...
And then do we go Shoffley?
Go with Zalatoris.
Oh, let's go Willie Z. Yeah, I like that. Let's do that. That'll be a good number. Okay, perfect. Jake probably already has that put in there. So yeah, quickly for the combo cards, there is a super boost for the Valspar. Willie Z to make the cut and Shane Lowry to make the cut. Minus 123. That's boosted up all the way to 115. Cut it out. This was the big cut parlay that I was talking about. Yes. Fleetwood, Connors, Thomas, Shoffley, Straka, all to make the cut. Plus 205, boosted it up to plus 234. Lamp Lighters, that's one of our go-to. McKinnon and Matthews, simply enough. That's boosted up to plus 399 points from the point. Makar and Faber, both to get a point, boosted to plus 646. Sorry, Makar's 2 there. Yeah, 2. So that's why you got that big number there. So 2 points for Makar, 1 point for Faber, plus 646. And then some of the NCAA ones. These are awesome. Shout out to Jake for the names on this one. Don't mess with Texas. Texas Longhorns to win. Houston to win, Texas A&M to win, and the Texas Tech Raiders all to win, plus 244. Don't forget, that one starts tonight with the Longhorns playing. This is not a round one special. The Big Beast, Xavier Musketeers to win, Creighton Blue Jays, St. John's, Marquette, and UConn all to win, plus 846. And then we'll lock up with the last one here. You can see all the other ones. Patty brackets. That's my pick for this one. The Drake Bulldogs plus 6.5. St. John's minus 17.5. And then finishing things off with UC San Diego plus 3.5. That one gets up to 539. You can check all of them up at the top of the page.
Yeah, you know where to find them, everybody. The combo cards are stacked. We're locked and loaded for the Valspar and March Madness. Good luck. Enjoy the action tonight. We'll turn it back to EST. If you want to join me on Winnipeg Sports Talk, we'll get going on in a minute. And we'll see you back tomorrow. 3-man weave for the first day of the madness here in the Lock Shop.